Hello and welcome.
Franken Fran is an 8-volume series written and illustrated by Katsuhisa Kigitsu. It was released in North America by 7 Seas Entertainment in 2016. Before continuing further, I have to mention that most name pronunciations will be horribly mangled. I have a middle-aged North American tongue, and, well, it's limited in its capacity to properly pronounce names and terms from other cultures. My sincere apologies in advance. For clarity, this review is limited to the first 2 volumes. Franken Fran is the creation of Dr. Madaraki, an infamous experimental surgeon who has disappeared. He is only present in spirit, as an absent father figure who never intervenes. In a way, Fran is both his daughter and his most successful experiment. She continues his work in secret while living in the mansion where she was created. This is a reasonable allegory for the world and the human race. We are all creations that exist in the mansion that is planet Earth. At the beginning of the series, Fran's skills are quite pronounced, having already created a bunch of her own cute monstrosities. But she's always open to a new challenge. These challenges invariably present themselves throughout the series. Fran herself is charming in her focused, nearly psychopathic approach. She has some noticeable quirks, like a random robotic pause on syllables and her distinct wobbling. These are cute, humanizing touches. Fran is very invested in preserving life, regardless of the consequences. It is sacred to her. She has a simplified, binary approach. There is life, and there is death, with life being the preferred state of being. So if preserving a life requires some radical changes in the flesh, then that's what needs to be done. Beautiful or grotesque aren't terms she considers when it's a choice between life or death. Although, Fran is equally happy providing cosmetic alterations. Naturally, she takes these requests to the extreme, highlighting the absurd, subjective nature of aesthetics. Put simply, Franken Fran is a series of body horror stories that usually end with an ironic or unexpected twist. Due to the protagonist and her positive outlook, they are surprisingly charming stories. They are very twisted, but somehow sweet. Not every ending is a classic happy ending, though. The endings to episodes are appropriate to the subject of the piece. So, a bad person gets a bad, unexpected ending, for example. Their needs are fulfilled in spirit, but their evil intentions manifest as a terrible outcome. But sometimes bad things happen to somewhat good people. So there is a gray morality built into the episodes. It's not blatant, but it's suggested by the fates of those that require Fran's expertise. An example of this occurs in the first volume. The second episode, Chrysalis, involves a well-intentioned but slightly obsessed young man and the young woman who is the object of his affection. The young woman is nearly killed in a traffic accident. Fran is able to preserve her by attaching her head to an enormous caterpillar. The young man attends to her faithfully during her recovery. Unknown to both, the caterpillar body is simply a transitory state. After a month, she becomes a chrysalis and then reborn with a new human body. The young man's dedication has won over the young woman and they become involved. Unfortunately, the young woman has taken on insect characteristics. Their first and only sexual encounter ends quite traumatically for the young man. So, due to his obsession and dedication, which is pure on the surface, but motivated by sexual desire, the young man gets what he wants, but not in the manner he expected. The overly sexualized covers, which are presumably a standard marketing strategy, don't remotely indicate the content inside. As if in recognition that the covers are intentionally misleading cheesecake, the first interior page is the cover image reproduced as a negative, with Fran's subject horribly disfigured. It's a darkly amusing detail. The tone of Franken Fran is quite playful, with only the slightest edge of seriousness. Its overall message, so to speak, is: look at the possibilities of fringe biology. Look at what can be done with flesh. This is a positive message if one is interested in the inherent possibilities of life. And it's an utterly terrifying message if one considers the malleability of the human form. It's very uncomfortable to suggest our humanity, which is physically personified by a recognizable shape and form, can be altered with nothing more than intent, some skill, and a sharp instrument. Like most body horror media, it asks, how distant in appearance can one become before they're no longer recognizably human? And metaphysically, does that make one less than human or more than human? or something else entirely? There's no easy answer to those questions. It's a lovely gray area with no easy resolutions. As a read, Franken Fran is for a specialized audience. The illustrations aren't too graphic, but they aren't tame either. This could be disturbing and off-putting to those unaccustomed to the more extreme end of the horror genre. Personally, I could only read 1 or 2 stories in a row before the contrast of irony and the metaphysical aspects of body horror fused my neurons together. In parts, it's uncomfortably uplifting and almost gleefully horrific at the same time. It's a bizarre existential combination. For those interested in tales of body horror, Franken Fran might be a good suggestion. For a general audience, proceed with caution.